What's up, War Rapport family? We are back with another great edition of Building Rapport. Joining me weekly, as always, is host of the Crain and Co on Daily Wire. Go over there and check them out. Jake Crain. Let me bring Jake in here. Jake, thanks for joining me, man.
Man, it's always a pleasure to come on, Mike, and this is the last weekend before we get to see some kickoff in college football. So I've never been more excited for a weekend to hurry up and get going.
Oh, man, listen, the longest offseason in any sport is college football.
For sure.
Let's jump right in here. We had a press conference with Hugh Freeze today, and it seems like I was the one who asked him the question, but the emergence of the young receivers, Jake, is starting to get him to question how much 10 and 11 and maybe even 20 personnel they might play. How exciting is it, do you think, that the play of these young receivers in fall camp is causing the coach to maybe reassess what personnel groupings they send out there on Saturdays?
Well, I think there's two main things to get out of that. One, obviously, after what seems like, this drought that we've been in, Auburn has multiple guys that are young and talented that are ready to contribute. And that's not even counting, the new guys like Robert Lewis and Keandre Lambert-Smith. And then you look at a tight end like Rivaldo Fairweather, how much that's going to open it up for him on the seam. So, yeah, it's great to hear. Payton Thorne does what we think he can do, and he takes that next step and he makes the routine throws routine. Auburn's going to be much more dangerous through the air, which is going to make them a lot more balanced, Mike, which is what cost them a lot of opportunities last year offensively and why it seemed like Auburn lived in 3rd and 8. But I think you want to know that the best part about that to me is that it just once again shows that Hugh Freeze understands how to manage a football team and how to play to a football team's strengths. The fact that you have a coach that's malleable enough to say, you know what, this may go against what we had planned to do, but these guys are playing so well, I may have to alter what I thought for the betterment of the team. And to me, that's the overarching thing is that, you have some coaches that are so stubborn and they're so set in their ways that they're willing to try to fit a square peg in a round hole, even if it doesn't make sense. And Hugh Freeze having the ability to be that malleable or to be able to bend that much to adjust what he needs to do to put his team in the best position, I think it just shows you how good of hands that Auburn is in.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. Look, Keandre Lambert-Smith was back at practice today. He suffered a mild ankle injury, I think is what they were calling it, but he was out there running receiver drills. However, Perry Thompson was one of the young receivers that shined in last week's scrimmage on Saturday. So it's kind of sticking with the theme here of receiver. How important do you think is it for Hugh Freeze to maybe get a Perry Thompson or a Malcolm Simmons, who also performed admirably last Saturday, into the lineup early in the non-conference?
Well, again, I'll give you a great example, and I'm not saying Auburn is Michigan, but you've seen teams have a lot of success using games that they're better than the other team to try and put guys in position to help themselves down the road or maybe make a decision from a position group standpoint. We watched Michigan basically have spring practice for 2 years, the first 4 games of the season, to try and find a quarterback that would operate in that sphere. So, yeah, you want to get that in-game experience for these young guys playing in the new environment that they're going to play in. And when I look at the Malcolm Simmons and the Perry Thompsons and those guys, experience is the unteachable and tangible. And a lot of guys look good in practice. Some don't look as good in the game. Some guys look really good in the game, and they don't look that good in practice. And you want to find that out because it is a new level, right? You are playing in the size stadium you've never played in. You're having to deal with noise you've never had to deal with. You're having to go against schemes, whether it be pre-snap or mid-play, that you've never seen in it, or at least more of it than you saw in high school. But when I look at Perry Thompson, the thing that has probably made me feel the best is, and I had heard this from guys that I trust, is that he was very raw coming into Auburn, but he seems like he is learning very rapidly, and he's really good at getting information and then going and doing it on the field quickly. And if he can do that, God has blessed him with all the physical tools you need to go and be a big-time wide receiver, an NFL player when it comes down to it. His maturation process so quickly should get Auburn fans are already super excited about Cam Coleman. But the fact that Perry Thompson came in when he came in and he's able to pick it up this fast, at least to this point, at least to a point where you can do it in a scrimmage, should give Auburn fans a good warm tingle inside.
Yeah, look, when you talk to Perry Thompson just one-on-one, I've had a few off the book conversations with him. It's clear his intelligence shines through. Like
He's huge too, Mike.
oh man,
Auburn
he's
is
massive.
huge at wide receiver.
He's massive. And that's not something they've been used to. It's been a lot of
Oh,
smaller wide receivers for the last few years, right, Jake?
yeah, and listen, I'm not saying you always just want huge receivers. You want a good blend, but it just seemed like for the longest we just been playing with the lollipop guild out there running around. And not only did we have short guys, we had short guys that couldn't get open really. So
Yeah.
now you've gone from short guys that couldn't get open to big guys that stay open. That's a world I want to live in.
Yeah, well, and a good mix of both too, because Malcolm
Very
Simmons
true.
and Bryce Kane are lightning with
And
the ball
Robert
in their
Lewis
hands.
too,
Yeah.
so it's a good blend, right? You want a good blend, but it's nice to have versatility in that position group now.
Freeze even left open the possibility, Jake, that they could run some sets with Cobb Hunter and Alston on the field at the same time. What does that look like? What kind of challenge does that present?
It probably looks like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2 goal line to me. But no, look, what's cool is a lot of times how you line up isn't how you wind up. You could have situations where Auburn starts with some sort of diamond backfield with the quarterback and 3 backs in there. Payton claps his hands and everybody goes out in motions, and all of a sudden you go from what looks like basically near a wishbone set to a 5 wide set, which is a drastic adjustment for a defense having to check from what you were just in to what you're in now. So I think Hugh Freeze is really excited because it's like a kid with a bunch of toys on Christmas, right? You just want to play with all the toys. You want to put them all everywhere and get the most out of each and every one of them. And now he actually has the toys to play with as opposed to just getting a rawhide wallet last Christmas.
Look, starting quarterback is not in question. Payton Thorne is going to start the season as the quarterback, but we got a chance today to ask him about the number 2 quarterback. He said he already has that kind of worked out in his mind, but he's going to wait until next week to let us, the media, and the fans know who that is. Right now, it seems like it's between Holden Geriner and Hank Brown. If you're Hugh Freeze, what are you considering there in terms of who you choose? Neither present a real run threat, which Payton Thorne is. What do those 2 guys have to do to make themselves stand out? And if he already has it in his mind who it's going to be, is there any chance that whoever's second in that race can make that up in the next few days?
I think if he's already got his mind made up, he's probably already got his mind made up. There's been enough reps now to get tangible information to be able to make that decision. As far as what I know, I'm more worried about Payton than I am the backup. You're always worried about the backup, but when you look at the 2 skill sets, I think Hank runs a little bit better than Holden. Neither one of them run really well, but when it comes to being able to improvise, I do think that Hank's got a little more Ryan Stiles in him than what Holden does. And if you have your backup quarterback in there, it's going to change the way your offense typically operates, not only from the amount that you can do, but how you go about doing it. So as far as the 3rd guy becoming the 2nd guy, we're in game week basically. Like now you've already started a little bit sprinkling some stuff in. And by the time, we get through this weekend it's full where we're getting ready, or excuse me, we're 2 weeks out from kicking off. You're really going to start hammering home the game plan stuff and getting ready and dotting the Q's and crossing the I's and going through all special team situations and doing all that stuff. Typically teams the week before the kickoff, they'll have a scrimmage, but it'll be a situational scrimmage that you do a lot of the alternative things, right? Like onside kick, hands team, field goal block, field goal return, things like that. So as far as the progression of where we're at, I feel like Hugh not only has to make a decision, but he's probably already made it.
Yeah, I think fans really thought Hank Brown would take that job after what they saw in the bowl game. Yeah, but Holden Geriner was the 2nd quarterback out in the scrimmage. Now, that doesn't always mean that that's the order that they're in right now, but I think it definitely said that there's still a race going on there.
For sure.
Jake, you mentioned now you're starting to get into game prep, right? You got Alabama A&M first game. Describe to me as somebody who's coached, what kind of things are you hammering home once you start preparing for your week 1 opponent?
Well, the first thing, and you try and do this, talk about it in the spring, you talk about it in the summer, like the name on the other jersey does not matter, right? What matters is how we play. We'll adjust the scheme and game plan to what they do, but we're going to force them also to adjust to what we do. So you don't go into it saying, oh, well, it's Alabama A&M. Let's just, let's not really prep on them that much. Let's just work fundamentals and stuff like that. No, you got to get your guys, especially when you have young guys, to get used to the routine of the week, the game prep, the scouting report, what this means, going through the day-to-day of, they're going to do this, so we're going to do this. When it comes down to it, we want to do this. So I don't think they're going to, start saying, hey, we're already looking to week 3 or whatever to start kind of looking at those schemes, especially what happened last year against New Mexico State. So the way it typically works out is 2 weeks out, you sprinkle in some stuff. You've been running your base stuff. You've added what you've wanted. You formed your identity. And then that week before, it is 100%. This is what they do. When we go to practice and we do scout teams, we are doing their looks. We are using their coverages. We are using their blitzes, at least what we think they're going to do. When we go through special teams periods, we are lining up in formations we think they're going to be in. We're going to run returns we think they're going to run, and it's full bore getting ready. And you want to set the table so every week you realize, hey, on Monday we do this, Tuesday we do that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So therefore every Saturday is the same. So that's kind of the way the short-term version of how it gets kind of divvied out.
Jake, I want to close talking about what Hugh Freeze is going to do in terms of managing this first 3 games of his schedule. Is he looking maybe to hold something back in non-conference before you get to Arkansas, hoping that he can beat them with their base sets? Or, do you just go out and play football week 1 and see where the chips fall?
Well, as far as holding back, it's funny. Some coaches in certain games will put stuff in knowing they're not going to run it until week 3 or week 4 early, just to have it in. So when they reintroduce it, you've already been through it. I think the game plan for Alabama A&M and really most of the non-conference outside of Cal is going to be a lot of base stuff. I don't think Auburn's going to get super creative. There's 2 ways of thinking. One, we show you a lot, so you have to prepare for a lot, so you can't iron down one thing. Or we don't show you a lot, so you don't know what's going to happen until we actually go do it against you. As a defensive guy, it always bothered me more when I didn't know, when I didn't see it because even if you give me a bunch of stuff, like for example, we were playing Arkansas State and, I was coordinating the special teams basically at South, and Arkansas State is one of those teams that ran 70 different punt formations. I mean, I look like, like the detectives with pictures and string and yarn going across the suspects, and he was there getting ready for that game. And you know what I ended up saying, Mike? I was like, you know what? They want me to do this. This is what they want me to do. They want me to have to go through all this and see all this instead of saying, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover the eligibles. And if you want to do all this crazy stuff, we're going to come after the punt pretty much every time outside of the few times we call for a return or if we're going safe. So we're going to beat complexity with simplicity. So I think they're going to come out and be decently vanilla, a lot of base stuff, and say, look, we got to be able to go line up and just beat people because we're better than they are. And then if you have to pull something out, if something goes wrong or whatever, then you do it. But I think they're going to hold some stuff back early.
Well, Auburn will be vanilla, but Jake Crain is never vanilla when he joins us here on the War Report. Jake, before we get out of here, please tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, man, it's really easy. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's Crain and Company, Crain and Company. We have a good time, man. Come hang out with us.
Guys, that's it for another great edition of Building Rapport with my guy, Jake Crain from Crain and Co. over on the Daily Wire. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.